Howdy folks, Spencer here, and today I'll be breaking down the stats of the brand new Nova 1 Pilot Raider. As always, chapters to each topic are listed down below. First up, let's go over pricing and availability. This is a direct to infinity lockbox ship, meaning it is going to be extremely expensive to acquire for a single character, and it's going to be dropping on PC alongside the Dimensional Typhoon event, which is on September 17th, and there's no information yet about when this will be going live over on console. And heading into the stats, this has a hull modifier of 1.07, shield mod of 1.14. It has a 5-1 weapon setup plus an experimental weapon slot. It has 2 device slots. We'll go over the bridge officers here in a moment. Console-wise, 5 tac, 4 inch, 2 psi. Base turn rate of 20.3, impulse mod of 0.21, inertia of 80, so this thing is going to zip around very fast, which is expected given it is a pilot ship. Then you have plus 10 to weapons and plus 10 to engine power. And it can, of course, run dual cannons, dual heavy cannons. It has raider flanking, and of course, it has pilot maneuvers. And for the mastery package, it is a pilot raider, so it does have the raider mastery package, which is plus accuracy, defense, all damage, cat 1, and crit severity. And for the bridge officer setup, this has a commander universal with pilot, lieutenant commander engineering with miracle worker, lieutenant commander universal, lieutenant tactical, and an ensign universal. This is pilot miracle worker spec combo, not really that great. And they're trying to increase the value of this ship by giving it a commander universal. But, this is a 5-1 raider. It has only 2 science console slots. It doesn't have a secondary deflector. Who's going to go out and put a commander science on this? And who would go out and put a commander engineer on it? So realistically, this commander universal for most people is always going to end up being a commander tactical, which is what this ship would have had this not been a universal seat. So they're trying to create some value here, but realistically they've made an error there. That doesn't really bring much value. And as for the pilot miracle worker spec combo, that's really not bringing much to the table. Miracle worker in general is the worst specialization to have as a secondary on a ship, in my opinion. So you're not really getting a ton of value from that. And they honestly should have known that when looking at the other pilot miracle worker ships out there. The courier pilot raider is also pilot miracle worker, and that thing has been one of the worst sellers for them, I believe, lockbox wise, over the past few years. That is consistently one of the cheapest lockbox ships on the exchange because nobody wants it. So that should have been a warning sign to them about that spec combo. But I think the Gorn Hunter may have misled them. I think whoever designed this ship didn't understand that the Gorn Hunter, which also has a pilot miracle worker spec combo, whoever designed this ship didn't realize that the reason the Gorn Hunter is so popular, that it's one of the most expensive lockbox ships on the exchange, is not because of the ship itself, but because of the accessories. So the Gorn Hunter is extremely popular because it's got all the stuff to make plasma great, and because of that, a lot of people will go out and pick it up. But the thing with the Gorn Hunter is that as soon as people get it, they can't get out of the damn thing fast enough. They will level that trait up and put the ship in dry dock as fast as they possibly can. So I think that really did mislead them here into thinking we actually wanted a pilot miracle worker spec combo. And sure, someone out there probably does. But I think that, for them wanting to get a ship out there that is going to sell, pilot miracle worker, not the combo you want to go with. And for the Admiralty stats, 49 engineering, 22 science, 55 tac, and the special is plus 20 tac eng when alone. And heading over to the accessories, first up is the Universal Console Nova Fleet Recruitment Drive. Contrary to popular belief, Nick Locarno's main skill wasn't piloting, but convincing people to follow him down a dangerous path. This device emits a beam, which was initially thought to be capable of destroying ships. In truth, it broadcasts a message manipulating low-ranking members of a ship's crew and forces them to mutiny. The chaos and destruction that ensues can range from bridge officers seeing their abilities delayed to ships temporarily defecting. And there's no mention of a passive here, and there's no tooltip, so I can't say how bad this thing's going to be, but it doesn't really sound that good. And next up is the experimental weapon, Nova Starburst. This weapon uses a plasma canister as a projectile. This weapon creates a dangerous cloud that deals damage over time to anyone inside it. After a few seconds, the plasma is ignited, creating an explosion on an area several times bigger than the initial plasma cloud. This sounds like it is slow, and the issue that we currently have with experimental weapons, especially as you get to higher performance levels, is that the current offerings we have for experimental weapons, they're too slow. And this is something that is explicitly being advertised as being slow. So I don't think this is going to be something that's going to beat the existing offerings we have, but you never know with experimental weapons. But I just don't think this is going to compete with the Achilles experimental weapon or the Gordon Hunter's experimental weapon. And next up is the Starship Trait Bold Piloting. There are bold pilots and then there are old pilots, but there are no old bold pilots. After being expelled from Starfleet Academy, Nick Locarno became obsessed with proving he was an ace pilot. He would forgo safety measures in order to show off his skills. One such case involved tampering with standard engine boosting protocols to achieve a greater maximum speed. This let him deal damage to other ships and partially bypass shields by grazing during hot pursuits. Due to stress applied to engine subsystems, Locarno's special move could only be used sparingly. This move gained intergalactic notoriety until it one day became known as the Locarno maneuver. So, without tooltips, it's hard to make a final judgment on the ship overall, but the impression that I have from the ship and everything here is that this does seem to be a very underwhelming release. I think that if you're looking for a nice premium pilot ship, there are better offerings out there. If you're going to go for a pilot ship, the Heroian Predator did drop just a couple weeks ago into the Infinity Lockbox on PC, and that has an extra aft weapon. It has a better spec combo on it with the pilot intel, and overall is just a better ship than the Nova 1. And the accessories on the Heroian Predator, the devs listened to the feedback and they have also buffed up the accessories. The Starship Trait now has 20% uptime, whereas it initially only had 10% uptime. So the Heroian Predator is just going to be a better value than the Nova 1 from what I'm seeing so far. You know, it's possible that may change once we see the numbers on the accessories here, but they did not put in the tooltips like they've done with some other recent ship blogs, like the Heroian Predator. You can see the tooltips there gave us a good understanding of what the Heroian was offering, and they didn't do that for the Nova 1. So my final summary for this video is that the Nova 1 really just doesn't seem that impressive. I think it's a very easy skip for most people, but, you know, as always, wait until we see the final numbers on the accessories before we completely tossed out the airlock. And that's going to be it for today. As always, thank you to all channel members and viewers for the continued support. See you guys around.